today's lecture, we'll discuss about the enduring significance of letters to the editor, referred to as LTE in this lecture, as a cornerstone of public discourse and a vital link between citizens and the media. It explores their historical evolution, structure, and various types, highlighting their role in amplifying citizen voices and fostering accountability in journalism. The study delves into the principles of editing LTEs, offering practical guidelines for crafting impactful and concise letters. It also addresses challenges such as editorial bias, censorship, and space limitations alongside the ethical and governmental guidelines shaping their publication. By analyzing notable examples, this research-based lecture underscores the significance of LTEs in shaping public opinion and policy, providing a comprehensive guide to their relevance in modern India. So, what will students learn from this lecture? Students will gain a clear understanding of letters to the editor as a tool for public expression and media engagement. Students will explore its history, structure, and types while learning to write impactful letters that effectively convey opinions. The lecture will also cover the ethical principles, editorial standards, and challenges involved in publishing LTEs. By analyzing real-life examples, students will understand their role in shaping public opinion and driving social change, equipping them to use this medium thoughtfully, meaningfully, and effectively. So, what are letters to the editor? How would we explain this? Letters to the editor are generally found in newspapers. They are written by members of the public as opposed to newspaper staff or any expert, and give somebody's opinion about a current issue. A letter to the editor is a letter sent to a publication about an issue of concern, which is to the reader. Usually such letters are intended for publication. In many publications, letters to the editor may be sent either through conventional mail or electronic mail. These are written by readers of a newspaper or a magazine or other source, and the topics are relevant to public issues or public interest. Letters to editors address diverse topics ranging from commentary on local, state, national, and international current events to responses to opinions and stories previously put forth in the publication. Sometimes they rant, sometimes they rave, sometimes they read like a mini op-ed because editors have limited space to print letters, and because they often try to publish a variety of viewpoints on a range of topics. Letters typically must be brief, somewhere around 100 to 200 words. Thus, writing a letter to the editor becomes a useful exercise in creating a clear but persuasive argument. So, this type of writing is normally shorter as compared to writing an article. This is a space for the audience to share their experiences and opinions. They can freely express their views, however, their submissions cannot be too long. It could be a social issue, a political opinion, or a relevant anecdote. Thus, op-eds are democratic and act as a harbinger of freedom because they deliberately invite interesting ideas and narrate the same. Many authors even enjoy using humor in their articles to keep the tone light and conversational. Many sideline views are brought to the forefront and discussed and debated about. However, no article or letter to the editor is guaranteed publication and is often left to the discretion of the editor. So, letter to the editor are most frequently associated with newspapers and news magazines. However, they are sometimes also published in periodicals such as entertainment and technical magazines and also academic journals. So, kindly remember, you can find letters in different forms in different places. Radio and television stations may also receive such letters, which are sometimes read on the air, particularly on news commentary broadcasts or on a talk show on a radio. It can be described as viewer's mail or listener's mail, depending on the medium. The subject matter of letter to the editor vary widely. However, the most common topics that include are as follows. You must know these in detail. So, number 1, supporting or opposing a stance taken by the publication in its editorial or by any columnist, or responding to another writer's letter to the editor. Secondly, commenting on a current issue being debated by a governing body, local, regional or national, depending on the publication's circulation. Often the writer will urge electorate officials to make their decisions based on their viewpoint. Number 3 is commenting on material such as a news story that has appeared in a previous edition. Such letters may either be critical or praising. Number 4, correcting a perceived error or misrepresentation. So, if there is a error or if there is a mistake which has been committed in the newspaper, the letter to the editor might pinpoint that. So, what is the historical background? This again is a very, very interesting segment to understand. So, I am going to start with early print history. So, it was the early 1700s when newspapers were becoming an unprecedented force of nature. A bunch of sheets together, connecting people by disseminating knowledge to which only the aristocrats and nobles had the privilege to access. In itself, the newspaper was a precious possession for the most of the common masses, but it didn't belong to them yet, because even providing information about the people and for the people doesn't capture what the people really feel. A newspaper that only communicated about the authority to the public and not vice versa was not going to be enough. The early 18th century witnessed the rise of partisan press, with newspapers being tightly controlled by common patrons and elite interests. As literacy rates increased and printing presses made print media and publications more accessible, a desire was generated in the minds of readers to voice their own opinions on public and political matters. Newspapers needed to become more than just sources of information. They needed to serve as a platform for shared ideas and also debates. So came in letter to the editor to shape the newspapers the way we know them today. Many of the earliest news reports and commentaries published by early American newspapers were delivered in the form of letters, and by the mid-18th century, letters to the editor were a dominant carrier of political and social discourse. Now, people had a way to not just reflect on the newspapers, but be reflected in them. There was a way to hold the authorities accountable, to criticize the press, to raise issues of concern, and also to analyze them critically. People didn't shy away from using this fresh weapon to have a row with journalists, either whenever they failed to perform their duties properly. It truly became one of the most important sections in the newspapers, and it continues to be till today. The earliest evidence of letters to the editors can be found in an English daily publication, The Spectator, in 1711. The publication would often include letters from the readers discussing and debating issues of morality, politics, and social work. This model of reader engagement that provided space for public expression would lay the standard for newspapers to follow globally in the future. I would now like to discuss about the American Revolution. In the period leading up to the American Revolution, letters to the editor assumed a crucial role in shaping public opinion. Colony newspapers like the Pennsylvania Gazette, published by Benjamin Franklin, would invite people to share their opinions to be published. The citizens started sharing their thoughts on British rule and independence. This culture of writing letters to the editor would lead to the development of a shared American identity, as people would openly challenge British authority, support the independence movement, and discuss principles like democracy and liberty through the columns dedicated to the letters to the editor. A notable example is the publication of A Letter from a Farmer in Pennsylvania, a series of essays written by John Dickinson in 1767. Although the publication doesn't follow the format of a modern letter to the editor, these essays were written in the style of a letter meant to engage the public and spark a debate on the fallacies and faults of the British administration and policies. These types of letters were meant to provide a forum for intellectual discussions and public dissent. Now let's come to the 19th century. As newspapers expanded their reach globally, letters to the editor had become a standard newspaper element for public engagement. With the rise of the penny press in America, newspapers had tapped into a previously untouched market, the working class. With papers becoming more affordable and accessible, a wider audience was encouraged to participate in public discourse and express different perspectives. This period was marked by the democratization of the media, as citizens expressed their opinions and concerns on a wide range of issues ranging from political platform, reform, and labor rights to social welfare. The 19th century also witnessed the rise of politically funded and affiliated press, which encouraged individuals to submit letters to the editor to express support or dissent regarding candidates, policies, and, of course, parties. LTEs provided a much needed space for public expression. Editors would pick and choose letters to test ideas, excite public sentiment, or promote particular viewpoints. The dialogue between the readers and editors solidified the media's role as the fourth leg of the state, with letters to the editor serving as a medium to hold press, policies, and politicians accountable to the public. Now, what happened in the 20th century? By the 20th century, LTEs had become an integral part of journalism and could be found as a standard feature in most newspapers. This period saw the rise of mass circulated newspapers, which amplified the reach of letters to the editor and their potential impact. During this period, letters to the editor had started focusing on social issues like civil rights, women's struggle, universal adult franchise, and labor rights. The Cold War era viewed letters to the editor as a medium to express concerns over the nuclear race, international affairs, and government policies. So, by allowing citizens to challenge government policies and voice their concerns over global issues through an official forum, letters to the editor became an important contributor to public dialogue. During this period, many newspapers adopted a more formal format to publish letters. This led to the emergence of a more professional and curated letters to the editor section in newspapers that is carefully selected and edited by the editorial members of the newspapers. Now, the 21st century. With the emergence of the digital age in the 21st century, there has been a surge in the opportunities as well as limitations for letters to the editor. With the rise of social media and online forums, readers today have more ways than ever to engage with news and share their opinions. While social media and the online comments offer instant feedback, there are several issues with this model of citizen journalism. Reduction of editorial oversight can lead to sensationalism and spread of false information. Moreover, with the rise of artificial intelligence, discerning between reality and AI has become all the more difficult, leading to false images and information floating the internet. In this age of instant clickbait media, letters to the editor have remained relevant as a curated and moderated space for public discussion. The editorial involvement ensures that the information spread through letters is authentic, verified, and also relevant. Letters to the editor continue to play a role in shaping policies and opinions by providing readers a formal avenue to discuss community issues and influence policy makers. As we reflect on the journey of the letters to the editor, it becomes clear that its legacy extends far beyond the pages of newspapers or magazines. It is a testament to the enduring spirit of democracy, where every voice, no matter how humble, has the power to resonate and have a meaningful impact. Now let us discuss about the structure of a letter to the editor. LTEs have a similar structure or a format to other persuasive forms of writing like an essay or a debate. While the exact format can vary according to the requirements of different publications, the general format remains the same. So here goes the structure of a letter to the editor, which you must know. Salutation, opening statement, opinion, arguments, conclusion, and at the end, personal details. The letter should start with a salutation like dear or respected editor or sir or madam. Letters are usually written in response to another letter or in response to a current issue. The opening statement should clearly state what you will be referring to in the letter. Example, you can write like this: in response to a letter published by so and so on this date, or I wish to say that I disagree or agree with so and so. Following the opening statement, the writer shall state their own opinion or hypothesis that the letter is centered about. Example, low voter turnout is a blot on democracy. Following the opinion, the writer should give their own arguments to support the opinion. The arguments should always be verified and backed by evidence. Finally, the conclusion should include a summary of the opinion as well as arguments. The conclusion also presents an opportunity to call upon concerned authorities to take action on the stated opinion. The letter should end with personal details like name, address, contact details, email address or phone number if possible. So, what are the key elements of an effective letter? Firstly, pick a timely issue to comment on. LTEs are meant to express public opinion on socially relevant or current issues. Commenting on an old resolved issue may not gain the attention of the editor. Editors are usually on the lookout for letters that add to an ongoing societal debate or shed light on an issue that has not been explored before. Secondly, make your letter locally relevant. That is, write about how what are you writing about affects you, your community or your state. Listing personal experiences or the experiences of your community can add an emotional factor that is often not highlighted in traditional news articles. So, in this lecture series, we are discussing about the history, the relevance, the importance, the style of writing, letters to the editor and also its future.